getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket!
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, alongside the high flyer, Henry Turner.
And a very pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome into game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. The Kings continue the 6-game road trip, still looking for that first win of the trip in Brooklyn today. They take on the Nets, a Nets team that won't have some of their key pieces, some pieces that Kings fans might want to see today. We'll talk all about that. But of course, Sacramento not getting the job done Saturday at Madison Square Garden, losing to the Knicks, giving up 143 in the process, losing 143 to 120. Kings now 23-22 on the year. They're an even 10-10 on the road. As for the Knicks, they got their 30th win of the season. We'll talk about that Knicks team a little bit. We'll be with you for the next hour. If you want to join us, you certainly can. 916-339-1140. We'd love to hear from you. We're up and running at our YouTube as well. Feel free to chat there. We'll bring up some of the comments here on air. We'll be talking there during the breaks. Also, high flyer, Saturday night, the Kings, they got down deep. They made a great second quarter run to make that game interesting at the half, and then really didn't have a lot left in the tank in that second half. Third game in 4 days, travel, all that stuff. We're not making excuses. New York's a good team. The loss itself doesn't really bother me on Saturday night.
Not at all. Not at all. We knew what this trip was when the team started it. Okay, that's why the last game here was so big, because the Kings wanted to, set a good presence at G1 and then go out on the road, because they knew this road trip was going to be tough. This road trip was pretty much like no other. Yep. You have to see some of the major juggernauts for the East Coast.
Yep.
You got to run into New York. You got to run into Brooklyn. You got to go to Philly. At the end, you got to swing by and catch OKC. Minnesota's not going to be a cakewalk.
They're playing better.
So, you knew this was going to be tough.
Yeah, this is a tough swing for the Kings, no doubt about it. And they're playing a Knicks team that's third in the Eastern Conference right now. Again, maybe the most, concerning thing with the Kings right now might just be the overall health of De'Aaron Fox. I know he had a subpar shooting night again, 6 of 20, 14 points. He's out there. He's playing. He's giving it everything he's got. He's playing a lot of minutes still, everything else. But it's obvious that the finger injuries on both hands are affecting him.
And Scooter, but what the problem is, for the Kings right now and for De'Aaron Fox, All-Star Weekend can't get here fast enough.
Right.
Because that's going to be the time. I mean, as much as we want De'Aaron to be an all-star to be playing in San Francisco,
he probably isn't going to be at this
point.
But
I'm saying, as much as we want him to be,
we want more time off for him.
We want more time off for him to get healed. I think that's more important than to see him at the All-Star festivities.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the Kings are not going to get 2 players on the All-Star team. That's a given. They may not get 1 player on the All-Star team, but I think we're all kind of in unison here that if there is going to be 1 player for the Kings to make the All-Star team, it probably should be Sabonis.
Man, I'm telling you, if Sabonis don't make that All-Star team, bro, I mean, that's going to really put a black eye on the league. I mean, because the dude's numbers are second to none.
Yep.
How can you not be on the All-Star team? Okay, we understand the 5 got picked, but we got 4 teams and all these other all these other positions to be, picked up by the coaches. There's no way they can't look. They're going to look over Sabonis and say he don't deserve to be here.
You would definitely think not. He got snubbed last year and, of course, made All-NBA.
That was terrible.
It was terrible. And you would think it gets addressed this time around. We'll see. All he did was have a triple-double in New York on Saturday night.
It's got – let's go back to that. When he got snubbed, you remember that was all that was being talked about. Oh, my God, Sabonis got snubbed. Oh, my God. I mean, everybody in the media was talking about it. So you mean to tell me you're going to let it happen again?
And he's having a better year this year.
Exactly. You going to let that happen again? No way, no how.
I hope not.
No.
I hope not. As for the Knicks, they've got 2 players who will be starting in the All-Star game. We know that with Brunson and Towns, and those are both very deserving. Right now, Anthony Towns is 5th in the MVP ladder in terms of who's going to win that award. I don't know if I would have him that high. I'm not even sure I would have him over Jalen Brunson, but that's still impressive.
No, not over Jalen Brunson. No way, no how. But Karl Anthony Towns has really flourished in New York. And I said it from the beginning, Scott. I honestly thought that New York got the better of the deal because I felt like Karl Anthony Towns fit in better with what they had going, more so than what Julius Randle did in Minnesota.
I agree with that. And, the T-Wolves are playing better. They got a big win over Denver on Saturday, blew out the Nuggets 133-104. But it's been a great fit for Karl Anthony Towns. And this Knicks team, now that you've seen them play the Kings, that is, are you going to give them a shot against Cleveland or Boston?
No, it's tough. Very, very tough because, one game is one game. But when you talk about a 7-game series, I don't think they got enough. Yeah, can they go in and beat Cleveland one game? No doubt. Can they get Boston one game? For sure. But a 7-game series, I don't think they got enough in the tank.
And the tank's the right word because they're starting 5. I mean, I'm not saying it's as good as Boston, but it's close. I mean, when you line up Brunson and Bridges, Towns, Hart, and Anunoby, I'll stack that up against the best. But the problem is they play a ton of minutes and they're light off the bench.
Very light off the bench. And honestly, Scott, I think that's by design because Tibbs really don't want to go to his bench.
I know.
He rides his starters hard. That's always been the criticism about Tibbs and the good teams that he has is that he grinds those dudes down so much. Yeah. By the time it's time to get to the playoffs, they're done.
No doubt. And we'll see if they can hold up. I mean, Brunson's as tough as they come. Bridges is a guy who just doesn't miss games. I mean, he has the record for most consecutive games in the league right now.
Straight Iron Man, no doubt. Karl Anthony Towns has been pretty much healthy. I mean, he's been there. And then Anunoby is the bull.
Yeah.
He's one of the toughest guys in the league.
He is. So maybe the formula will work for Tibbs and company. Obviously, New York is having a great season. As for the Kings, they've come back a little bit, back-to-back losses on the road, but certainly against 2 great teams, Denver and New York. Tonight, a different story. They're playing a Brooklyn Nets team that's lost 6 in a row. They're going to be without some key players. We won't see a Cam on the floor tonight for Brooklyn. Thomas and Johnson will both be unavailable. And that's too bad because there's a lot of speculation. People want to see these guys play because they might not be with the Brooklyn Nets next month.
Maybe that's why they're not on the floor, but all in all, Scott, for us, we don't care who's on the floor. We don't care who's in Brooklyn. After the trade deadline, we need this win. This win here is imperative for the Kings. The Kings have to have this win to where they can keep their eyes on the prize and say, we are still in position to make the moves that we want to make and end up where they want to be at the end of the year.
Yeah, no doubt. The Nets are just 14-32. Of course, Jordi Fernandez, head coach of Brooklyn, so a chance to compete against him on their home floor. That'll always be a reunion. It'll be a little different, obviously, with Mike Brown out. I mean, he still knows the Kings coaching staff, but it was really Mike Brown who brought Jordi Fernandez into the mix.
Right. Mike Brown was the connection from all of that. But still, Jordi was here for a few years, and we're happy for Jordi. Hope Jordi the best. Just not tonight.
Not tonight at all. For the Kings, after tonight, they go to Philadelphia on Wednesday, OKC Saturday. They round out the trip against Minnesota next Monday night. Kings, as we said right now, currently in 10th place. That would put them just in a play-in situation at 23-22, 13-12 at home. They are 10-10 on the road. But, again, it doesn't do a lot of great service to kind of match up game by game here because we know anybody can beat anybody in this league. But if you're looking at this road trip, this is the most gettable game.
Yeah. The one you would think that the Sacramento Kings could get, I do. I take them game by game because, the West is so tight to where game by game will knock you out of where you need to be. So we just dropped 2. That's not like one of those situations to where you're like, oh my God, it's doom and gloom, but you can't drop 3, Scott. Yep. You have to be able to bounce back and get 1.
That's what you've been talking about since day one, since the Kings had the turnaround. They were so good a couple of years ago because they never lost 3 games in a row.
And that's the recipe. We know you're going to lose some basketball games, but you can't go on those 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 game losing streaks. Those kill you.
They do. All right. Focusing on Fox, obviously it's been a struggle for him fighting through these injuries. And the ones on his left hand with the pinky, we've had that for a while. The thumb now is kind of a newer one on the offhand. He's playing through it, showing his toughness, showing his grit. Doug Christie talking about how he's showing leadership during this time, playing through pain. I mean, that's what you do as a professional. You mentioned the All-Star break, and hopefully that'll be a time for him to get some rest. It's about 3 weeks away from now, assuming he's not a part of All-Star festivities. Can the Kings wait that long? I mean, do you just keep playing him like you do right now?
I think it's all up to De'Aaron. It's all up to him because, how can you go to your number one guy and say, no, you're not playing, right? Because you have to get better. And it's a situation to where every game is so critical to your success. And your number one guy says, yeah, I want to go, but they just sit me down.
Yep.
You can't do that. You have to go off of how he feels.
No doubt. And obviously, if you just look at it from a pure shooting standpoint, the last 6 games, he's averaged 16 points, 32% from the field, 25% from 3. His season overall averages just over 25 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.5 steals.
Oh, no doubt. He's down. I mean, that's not even a question. But this is the scenario, Scott. Even a De'Aaron Fox at 70, 60% is better when you out there on the floor than anybody else that's put in that position at 100%. We understand our bench ain't where we want it to be. So if De'Aaron can just come off and give you those mediocre numbers, you have to take that, Scott, because you're trying to win ball games, man. The equity is not built up. It's not there. Every game is crucial for the Sacramento Kings, so you got to win every possible game that you can.
No doubt about that. All right, I've got to ask you, how many rims did you bend in your NBA days? Because what we saw on Saturday was pretty crazy.
I didn't bend no rims. I wasn't that heavy, Scott. I played at 220.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those big heavy guys. Now, I was rattling some rims in my day.
No doubt. You're the high flyer.
Yeah, but never really bent a rim and didn't make no basketball courts fall down, nothing like that. No, I wasn't a power dunker.
I never really saw what happened. It was just kind of bizarre. All of a sudden, they recognized that the rim was off kilter.
He really didn't put anything different than anybody else could have did on the rim.
Yeah.
The way he dunked and the way he pulled the rim, it twisted the back extension. Now, I've done that a couple of times to where, when you monkey jerk on a rim, yes, you can pull it off circle. It wasn't that the rim was bent.
No,
it was the whole apparatus was twisted.
It was.
Yeah.
I love how they're getting the levelers out there.
I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's level. It's just moved off. It's not centered.
Yep. Life in the NBA. We know that. All right. Kings go down in New York, but the great thing is they stayed there. They've been there since Friday. They haven't had to travel. They've had time to get ready for this game. It's the Brooklyn Nets, the opponent for the Kings. When we come back, we'll talk about it. Obviously, Cam Johnson's a name that's been mentioned a ton, whether it's accurate or not. We'll just kind of run through some of the scenarios. I want to get your thoughts specifically. We won't see Cam Johnson today. That's unfortunate. It would have been good to see him, although it's good for the Kings they're not seeing him. So I can take that, but it'd be great to see him play overall, get our evaluation of him. Game night's underway. It's brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. Check out their full line of luxury vehicles at mbofstockton.com. Again, if you want to join us, 916-339-1140. Give us a call. We're up and running in our YouTube chat. We'll be talking there during the break as well. Game night right here. Sacktown Sports, 1140.
All right, we are live on YouTube.
Anthony, how are you, my friend?
Great. How are you, Scott?
Good. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. Anything pressing in our chat room so far?
In the chat room, it's just people who they're excited to watch basketball. I think that's about it right now. Nothing too pressing or exciting in the chat right now.
Okay. What's your take? Must win tonight for the Kings?
I think so. I think I agree with Henry in that losing 3 in a row is never a good look, especially against Brooklyn, who is sitting all of their best players. I think losing against New York is understandable, But Brooklyn, I don't think is understandable at all.
No, this would not be justified. But I have to say the most overused cliche in sports is must win.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you on that, but
if we were to write down cliches that really are meaningless in sports, probably must win would be at the top of it.
I agree with you.
In the overall scheme of life, it's not truly a must win. It's a game they should win. It's not a game they couldn't overcome if they lost.
You know what? But I will say this, though. When you throw out must win, I think it's a must win.
Okay.
Because the Kings made a Herculean comeback to try to right the wrong of the ship that they start sinking.
Yep.
So they got decently back. Not exactly where you want to be. Now, you just played 2 road games and you drop those 2, and those are acceptable.
Sure.
Those are acceptable. Now you walk into Brooklyn, undermanned Brooklyn, a team that's been struggling. You have to get this game because the next night you got to walk into Philly.
Yep.
And whether Embiid plays or not, Philly is still a good basketball team.
Paul George got hurt on Saturday night too.
Oh, PG went down?
Yes, I don't know about his availability for Wednesday.
Okay, well, we don't know, but still,
Yep.
Philly is a better team than Brooklyn. And so you're on the road. You got to be able to get some of these games because at the end, yes, it's not going to hurt you now, Scott. It really isn't. But all of these demons are going to raise their ugly head at the end when you start looking at, okay, so where am I at? How many games are we out? And can we get back to where we want to be, to that 6th spot?
Yeah, and I think all of us are in agreement. And certainly I agree with you, Henry. I'm just kind of like, let's just say the Kings lose tonight, okay? And then they go out and they beat Philly. They somehow beat Oklahoma City on the road and they sweep Minnesota. Well, all of a sudden it's a 3-3 road trip, and that must win wasn't really a must win, right? Well, that's all I'm trying to say.
For sure. You don't jump off the Sacramento Bridge.
Yep.
By no means necessary. No. But if they lose to Brooklyn, right?
Yep.
All right. So we put this way, we don't expect them to lose to Brooklyn.
No.
But if they do, they lose to Brooklyn, and let's say they can't get OKC and can't get Minnesota. Now we're looking at total different scenario.
It could be disastrous, right?
Oh my God. Yes, exactly.
And we're coming back, but Paul George has already been ruled out for that game on Wednesday against the Kings. So.
Wow. Yep. Kings need to take care of business, baby.
Yeah. Welcome back to the game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh along with the high flyer Henry Turner, taking you till 4 o'clock today, getting you ready for Kings Live pregame. Tip tonight, 4:30, Kings and Nets. It'll be the final game of the 2-game series between these teams as the Kings take on their former assistant head coach Jordy Fernandez at the Barclays Center. Game night brought to you by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento. If you want to do something good for the children of our community, there's not maybe a better cause than Big Brothers Big Sisters. So many kids need an outside mentor. That's what Big Brothers and Big Sisters is all about. You could be that person. If you have some interest, go to bbbs-sac.org to find out all about it. All right, let's focus in on this one a little bit, and let's specifically talk about Cam Johnson. You and I, we don't spend a lot of time in the rumor mill. I mean, we'll bring it up if it's newsworthy because that's what we do. We talk about things that people are talking about. But the Kings are playing the Nets tonight, and I think you'd have to agree that, you know, in terms of names being thrown out there on the Kings trade list, whether it's accurate or not,
he's been high on it.
Cam Johnson has, and we don't have a pipeline to Monty McNair. We're not talking to him, so we don't know the validity of it or not. But there's been a lot of smoke about it. So let's just break down with Cam Johnson, who I said would not be playing tonight. Okay. You know, the rumors are that the Nets are asking for at least 2 first-round draft picks or 1 pick and a top young prospect. And by reports, the Kings are unwilling to either consider Keegan Murray or Devin Carter as part of a deal, which makes it difficult to consider Brooklyn. What's your thought process on all of that?
Wow. Well, you know, you really can't question what Brooklyn thinks Cam Thomas is worth. Okay. You know, that's on their end of things. But when you're on the Sacramento Kings side, it's all about what you're willing to give up. And giving up Keegan Murray would be asinine to me if you're not getting back a legitimate all-star. Because yes, Cam Johnson can help you. No doubt. He will help this basketball team, but I don't think he's a Keegan Murray.
Yeah.
You know, the rookie Devin Carter, maybe. And the only reason why I say maybe.
And it would be that and a first-round pick, right?
Of course. The first-round pick is for sure.
Yeah, okay.
But the only reason why I'm saying maybe for Devin Carter is because the Kings are so loaded at the guard position.
They are. True.
You know, they are seriously loaded at the guard position. Now, I'm not saying that because I don't think the guy can play.
Sure.
You know, no. Devin Carter can play. Devin Carter can help this basketball team. But at the end of the day, if you want to make this team better, what would you much rather give up? Would you rather give up you're basically the only small forward stretch four that guards pretty much everybody on the opposition team,
right?
Or a guard that you have at least 5 of them to pick and choose from.
Yep. No, that's the consideration. So obviously it's been a small sample size with Devin Carter with the injury. Now, I think since seeing him, he's impressed, certainly on the defensive side early on.
He's pressed all the way around. I mean, guarding the basketball, I'm very impressed. Basketball IQ, I'm impressed. Willing to step up and take a shot, I'm impressed about that. You know, and I think the biggest thing I'm impressed about, the dude's a rebounding point guard.
Yep.
He goes in there and grab boards. So,
yes, he does.
You know, he can help any ball club. I'm not doubting the young man's potential at all. I'm just saying that if it's anywhere you want to look at on this Kings roster to where you want to give up a player, it's at that guard position.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Cam Johnson this year is averaging just under 20 points a game, 19.4, 4 rebounds, nearly 3 assists. He shoots 49% from the field and 42% from the arc.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think in terms of if you had a high flyer wish list and you're out there shopping, would Cam Johnson be high on your list in terms of what the Kings could acquire? I mean, if you could make a deal, or is there somebody else you even value more?
Yeah, he would be. I got one guy that I probably would put in front of him.
Okay.
Because I think he fits the mold of need more for the Sacramento Kings.
Yep.
And that's John Collins.
Okay. Yep. And reports are he would be available too.
I think John Collins really fits a need for the Kings. Cam Thomas is up there on the list, you know, and then I threw out a dark horse. Let's say, for example, if the Kings aren't willing to move off of anything that they have on their roster, right? And you just want to go out and get a player, somebody that's going to help you.
Yep.
I'm telling you, I wouldn't mind spending the block on Rashard Holmes.
Yeah. Well, you would think he would be relatively cheap to get. He's not playing in Washington at all.
They're not using him at all. And I think that, you know, you wouldn't have to give up anything off of your roster to get him.
Yeah.
And he will be a guy to where you can plug and play. He plays above the rim. He runs. He blocks shots.
Yep.
He clogs up the middle. He is a guy that would be able to help you to where you don't have to give up anything on your roster. You can stay status quo.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Obviously, Valanciunas, if we're talking Washington, he intrigues me a ton.
He intrigues me a ton too, but I'll tell you what.
He's not going to come for free.
Exactly. Valanciunas is probably going to be in the middle right there between Cam Thomas and John Collins, and it's going to cost you a lot to get him because he's another one that's going to be highly sorted by other teams. Nobody is really looking at Rashard Holmes right now.
No, that's true. He's buried on that Washington bench, which is 6 and 38.
And the only reason that I'm looking at him is because I know what he did while he was here.
Yeah, he was a contributor.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. 10, 12 minutes, this dude could give you that.
Yeah, he would be a bench guy who could come in and you could count on. I think that's true.
To where we don't fall off a cliff when Sabonis comes to the game. Yeah. And you know what? Don't get me wrong. I mean, Alex Lynn is doing everything that he possibly can. He plays hard. But I think Rashard Holmes would fill that void a lot better than Alex Lynn.
Yeah, and Alex Lynn, he was one of the guys who Doug said he would be part of the top 9, right? Once he took over the team. And that's been it for the most part. But for example,
because he had to be. Who else was going to be in that position?
True. But for example, Saturday night, he really didn't play until it was over. He wasn't really part of that 9-man rotation. So he's kind of been in and out of it.
Because the reason why Alex Lynn has really just been on this team, you have to have a legitimate 7-footer just in case you go up against, you know, the Jokic's of the world, the Valanciunas of the world, the Joel Embiid's of the world, the Rudy Gobert's. You need a true 7-footer. Sabonis shouldn't be like, you know, left to his own device with all these guys. So he's been able to, you know, come off the bench and help. But I tell you what, I bet Rashawn Holmes can come in and match up with those guys just fine.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, we won't know about trades until they actually happen, you know, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way it is. Any thought as we get closer to the deadline? Do you have any gut feeling on if the Kings are going to make a move or not?
I think they're going to find something. They have to.
And that's what we thought last year too. And of course it didn't happen.
You know, last year was kind of a situation to where we were like, okay, the team is all right. I think right now they see that this roster, the way it is, isn't going to get them to where they're going to be satisfied with this year.
Yeah. They
need help.
Yep.
So,
and by definition of that, that means a playoff spot.
Yeah, exactly. A playoff spot.
Yeah.
They need help. And I'm just going to throw it out there. They need a big guy.
Yeah.
Because tell me this, what would bringing another guard here do for this team?
We're pretty logged at that position for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What would another shooting guard do for this team?
I think it would duplicate spots.
We already stacked.
Yep.
Okay. People, Jimmy Butler. If we would bring Jimmy Butler to this team, where would he fit?
Well, you'd find a spot for, assuming his mindset was right, you'd have to find a spot for Jimmy Butler because he's such a special talent. But he would not come in and just automatically take a spot, though.
Okay, let's say he would be a 3.
Yeah, he would.
Right?
Yeah.
He would be a 3. Does that right now?
No, it's not your most pressing need.
Right.
By any means.
Exactly. It's not your most pressing need. Yes, we would love to have him and we could use him, but you still have the same holes that you still got. And you brought Jimmy Buckets here.
And not at $48 million.
And then, and honestly, we ain't gonna talk about the money. We were just playing player to player.
Of course.
And honestly, okay, he's a 3. Well, we got a 3. Yep. We got DeMar DeRozan. Mm-hmm. We have a 3. So are you still going to play underman ball? We talking about we don't have no size as is?
Right. And Keegan's playing 4 and 3. So
right.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. The pressing need is for another big to help out inside. Along those lines, are you surprised that Isaac Jones isn't playing at all since Doug's taken over?
I am. And you know what? And it might be a situation of the opponent that they're playing, but I honestly thought that Isaac Jones was showing us something.
Yeah.
He was giving us some meaningful minutes out there on the floor, and I actually thought he deserved more time. I'm like, this dude, he might not be the biggest guy. You know, he can block a shot, he can grab a rebound, and he can play above the rim with the high pick and roll. He's not going to pop it all. He's not going to knock down the threes, but as far as rim rattling, he's one of the best in the business.
He was bringing a presence for sure.
Yes.
Now, he wasn't even available on Saturday, not with the team. So interesting to see how that might happen. Jay Crowder's another guy. Once they signed, it seemed like he was going to play more. He started the first game, but we haven't seen him really.
You know, Crowder and McBuckets.
Yeah. We've seen Doug the last couple of games, obviously Denver.
Yeah, but we've seen Doug because he came in and, you know, went crazy one game.
Yeah, right.
And then Doug went to him early the next game and he gave him nothing.
Right. Didn't get off a shot.
So it's one of those situations to where when you look down at the bottom half of the roster, you definitely can get rid of some guys because you do have some fluff.
Yep.
I mean, let's think about it. If we got rid of Jay Crowder, we really miss nothing because we don't play him.
Right.
If we get rid of McBuckets, we really miss nothing. They don't play him. And then if you bring in a guy that's going to take Alex Lynn's 10, 12 minutes, then you're adding something to your roster.
Right. True. All right. Good conversation. When we come back, we're going to go around the league. Speaking of sore thumbs, we've been focused on De'Aaron's, but how about Steph Curry? He hasn't been playing that well. Not Steph standard anyways. The Warriors getting drubbed by the Lakers on Saturday night. Curry saying his thumb's, quote, not an excuse. We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll get you caught up on all the other games going on throughout the league. And we were one game off, unfortunately, but Vince Carter's number 15 went into the rafters in Brooklyn on Saturday night. Would have been nice to see that tonight with the Kings there. They were there, obviously, in Toronto when that happened. But
I was about to say, so he got one going up in Brooklyn?
it's already up.
Wow.
It's already there. We'll talk about that. We've got to get back. We got to get to the break. We'll come back, get to all that and more. It's game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140.
All right, we are live on YouTube.
All right. What's the latest in our chat room?
You know, there's one person said that every game is a must-win in the Western Conference in rebuttal to you saying you don't like the term every something is a must-win, which I thought was a little bit like I agree. Not with a must-win. I think I agree with your
It's just like saying
it.
110%.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can't give 110. We all know what it means. I'm not nitpicking for any means, but it's just like there truly is no such thing as a must win until you lose and you're knocked out.
Definitely. But
because you always got a shot otherwise.
something interesting that I found while you guys were talking about all these trades, I know that Henry didn't want to talk about money, but Rashawn Holmes is making more money than Jonas Valanciunas.
There you go. What is Holmes' contract?
Holmes's contract is $12.6 million and Valanciunas is 9.9.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
For how many years, though? Because isn't Holmes' contract
Is it
coming
expiring?
It's gonna end next year,
Correct.
but it'll still be the same cap hit, which is quite interesting to me. And then obviously John Collins is 26.
And that's the thing to me, like when Valanciunas was a free agent, that's the guy I wanted the Kings to go after because he signed a 3-year, $30 million deal.
Right.
He's a bargain.
A bargain. But see, the reason why I'm leaning more so to Holmes than Valanciunas, everybody wants Valanciunas. That's the thing. Everybody wants this dude.
Sure.
So you're going to have to be competing with about 5 other teams that want him.
Well, again, if we're matching up contracts,
yeah.
Where's Herter at right now?
Herter is making $16.8 million.
You might be able to make that work. It's close enough where you throw in something else, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Possibly.
For Valanciunas, you definitely can. For Rashawn Holmes, you definitely can.
Yeah. So I mean that would be the thing. If you're taking Holmes, you probably would try to move Herter.
Right.
Yeah. So interesting.
I mean, and he probably would be a piece that they would use because they're definitely not using Rashawn Holmes.
Not at all.
He the only reason he's still on the roster is because he got a guaranteed contract.
Right.
You know, so I'm just talking about guys that could come to this team and help us where we need help.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd love to see him back on the team. I loved him when he was here.
And he's a great fit. He's a chemistry guy too. You're not going to have any problems with Rashawn Holmes.
And see, that's another thing too. You know, he's a guy that Rashawn Holmes never asks for the basketball.
Nope.
But Valanciunas is a little different dude.
He is.
He's a little different dude because he's going to be like, I want the ball down here in the post. And
the thing I find interesting, though, is Sabonis and Valanciunas worked out together. They're both from Lithuania. They know each other. They like each other. I just wonder what that chemistry could be like.
You know what?
Those two.
I think it would be all right. I really think it would work. Like you said, they know each other. It's kind of like AD and DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah.
They know each other, and I don't think it will be a conflict in their games.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I would agree with that. All right, how much time we have?
Got about 25 seconds.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
All right.
We could think of a lot of other cliches too that might be worse than must win, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Welcome back in the game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall with the High Flyer, Henry Turner, taking you until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Drive time basketball back in New York as the Kings take on the Nets. Brooklyn, to be exact, part of the 5 boroughs of the city of New York, so it counts.
Is Brooklyn in the house?
There you go. They are today. As the Kings will take on Jordi Fernandez. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. We want to go around the league. We've been talking a lot about De'Aaron Fox and the pinky on the left hand, the thumb on the other hand, banged up. Well, Steph Curry is also dealing with an injured right thumb. This is on his shooting hand, of course. Says it bothers him, but it wasn't the reason why. He had his worst shooting half of his career against the Lakers on Saturday night at Chase Center. He missed all 8 of his second half shots. Warriors lose to the Lakers 118-108. Right now, the Warriors are treading water in the Western Conference. They're falling down. But to your point, I asked you about De'Aaron Fox, and do you consider adjusting minutes? You let him play through it. What do you do? His numbers aren't quite the same. We don't have that conversation about Steph Curry. You automatically know he's going to play through it because he's Steph Curry. And to your point, I think you would say this is that De'Aaron Fox is the same category for the Kings as when we're talking about Steph Curry for the Warriors.
It is. But the problem is with Steph Curry that De'Aaron Fox isn't having right now is that Steph Curry is walking in basically with an undermanned team.
Oh yeah,
they got everybody is out for them. So most teams know that, and they're going to do exactly the same thing that the Sacramento Kings did to the Golden State Warriors. We're going to get the ball out of Steph Curry's hand. Yep. And if he does take shots, he's taking shots from the parking lot, like what he did against Sacramento, because those are the only shots that you're giving him.
Yep. No, you're right about that. I mean, the Warriors are 22-23 right now. They're just a game below Sacramento, but obviously Sacramento's been trending up and the Warriors have been trending down.
So, really, it's one of those situations to where it's not hurting me to play, but these are the shots that teams are giving me. Teams are smart. They're not going to let Steph come off and take those exact same shots and respect whoever else is coming off the bench for the Golden State Warriors. Yep. No, you're not a Kuminga, right?
No.
You're not a GP2 or
definitely not.
You're not some of those other guys. A Milton. You're not those guys. You don't get that type of respect. But Curry gets all the respect, and we're going to let you other guys try to beat us.
No doubt. And speaking of Curry's comments, quote, "It sucks, but it's not an excuse for anything. Got to play through it. It's just something that's been lingering to the point that it gets hit every once in a while. It's one of those things. It's almost gone, and then it gets knocked again. I will deal with it, but it shouldn't bother me like it did tonight."
Sound like De'Aaron, huh?
It does. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, we can have the conversation here, but
sounds like every other NBA player that has a nagging injury or ailment to where you can still put on your uniform and play, but it bothers you a little bit. But so what? You out there playing.
Exactly. Here's a story you'll like and get your thoughts on this one. But Isaiah Thomas is rejoining the Utah Jazz G League affiliate. So another opportunity for Isaiah Thomas, who we root for and want to somehow see have success back in the league.
I always root for that dude. I mean, I rooted for him when he first walked on the floor, and I was, so impressed by how he played, his work ethic, to what he did on the basketball floor. And I still think Isaiah Thomas is an NBA player. So for him to get that chance to go back out there and show what he can do on the basketball floor, Z, same old thing. Nothing's changed, bro. I seriously salute you.
I'm not sure if he is or not, quite honestly, but I love the chance that he is still fighting for it. There's not a bigger fighter than him. I am rooting for him, and I want to see him have success.
Yes.
I guess I should realize this. He's 35 years old now.
It's been a minute.
It has.
He's been around the world.
He has.
Think about it. He left us, went to Phoenix, left Phoenix, went to Boston, left Boston, went to Cleveland.
How many teams do you think he's been on in his 12-year NBA career?
At least 8 or 9.
You're close. 10.
10? Okay.
10 teams in 12 years. And obviously, it's been multiple teams the last few years.
I was going to say, who did I miss?
I couldn't name them all.
I was because I know when he left Boston, he went to Cleveland, and then after Cleveland, maybe Utah.
I'd have to pull it up. I don't know. We'll look for it during the break.
Yeah.
But we wish him the best, of course.
No doubt.
Speaking of big men, and obviously this would take a big trade. But Yusuf Nurkic says, quote, he does not have a relationship with Mike Budenholzer in Phoenix. What about Nurkic? I mean, he's a guy who can play the center role.
You know what? I've never been big on Nurkic. I wasn't big on Nurkic when he was in Portland, and I'm not big on him in Phoenix. He's a big guy that I honestly think doesn't get the most out of his size. You know, but which I tell you what, Valanciunas is leaps and bounds ahead of him, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, he started the first 23 games of the year, was moved to the bench, has not played since January 7th, says he has not talked to Coach Budenholzer in 2 months.
And actually,
That's what he's saying.
He's in the doghouse.
Somebody's unhappy.
Roof.
Yeah. You got to think that the Suns are desperately trying to move him, in part to try and get Jimmy Butler.
Okay. You know,
right?
And here's where the Suns are different than where we are, Scooter, because I know people want to know, okay, well, you know, Jimmy Butler's the best thing out there. Why aren't the Kings trying to get Jimmy Butler? Well, the Suns are just trying to get the best player possible, right? Because they got so many players that they can move around. If they go out and get a small forward, okay, and then let's say they have a small forward that they like, they can always move him somewhere else. They're just looking for the best possible player. The Kings are trying to look for a perfect fit because we have our major guys.
Yep.
We have our roster. We have our guys that we want to keep. So we're just not willing to, we're just not willing to get up off of Keegan Murray right now.
Right.
We're not going to move De'Aaron right now. We're not going to move Malik Monk right now. Sabonis is unmovable for us. So you just can't go out there and say, I need the best, player possible, because that best player might be a guard like Jimmy Buckets.
Yep, that's true. And as we mentioned too, another Kings related story a little bit with Vince Carter, the number 15 going into the Barclays Center Raptors. Well, Rafters, I should say, not the Raptors, no pun intended. The Rafters, is the Kings will see that number tonight.
Scooter, I didn't know that you could have more than one number retired in more than one city.
Maybe it's one per country.
Okay.
That's a joke.
I understand.
But you can't, obviously.
That
right?
might work.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought that this is why I'm asking you this.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought Orlando would have retired Shaquille O'Neal's jersey.
I think they did.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they have.
Have they?
I think so. Yeah. I think him and Penny are both up there.
I didn't know Shaq was up there. Okay. Miami.
I don't think he's retired in Miami, but he could be. He could be. We'll check. We'll check on that.
Right.
We got a couple things to check during the break here. Number of teams for Isaiah Thomas. We've got to check how many places Shaq's jersey's retired. Anthony's all over that. He's also going to have our injury report coming up when we come back here. We've got to take a break. We'll get you real quickly the games going on in the league tonight. You've got the Lakers and the Hornets. You've got Pistons and Cavs, Rockets and Celtics. How about the Rockets beating the Cavs twice in Cleveland? That was big time.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by that. The Houston Rockets play a very interesting brand of basketball. They are almost a throwback to the era before the three-point line was just everything, because they play so hard. They play so gritty.
They do. And they've got 30 wins this year too, which is pretty impressive. Second in the Western Conference. Battle of Florida Magic in Miami to take on the Heat. You've got the Grizz and the Knicks, Pelicans and Raptors, the Nuggets and the Bulls, Hawks, T-Wolves, Wizards and the Mavs, Bucks, Jazz. You got the Clippers and the Suns. And of course, the game we're going to focus in on, Kings and Nets. We'll turn our attention to that when we come back. It's game night right here. Sacktown Sports 1140.
We are live on YouTube, and I have all of that checked up on.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, let's start with Isaiah Thomas's teams.
All right, let's give Henry a chance to name the team. Sammy, he gets correct.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I thought this is how it went. He started with Sacramento.
Yes.
He left Sac. He went to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Left Phoenix, went to Boston.
Yep.
Left Boston, went to Cleveland.
Yep.
After Cleveland, I got kind of hairy on that. I was like,
we won't hold you on order. Just see if you can name the other teams.
Yeah. Utah.
Yep. Utah's there. For the G League team.
Lakers.
He played for the Lakers after the Caps.
And the Warriors or Clippers.
Neither.
I was going to say, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Don't remember that.
All right.
So after the Lakers, he went to the Nuggets.
Okay.
Then to the Wizards. then to the Pelicans, then the Nuggets G League team, Lakers again,
Yep.
the Mavericks,
Right.
then the back to Denver's G League team, the Grand Rapids Gold, then to the Hornets, then Salt Lake City Stars for Utah's G League team, then back to the Suns, and now back to Salt Lake City Stars right now.
Wow.
Yep.
He's bounced around. No
Yeah,
doubt
real
about
dream.
it. It is such a shame because if he hadn't gotten injured,
Absolutely.
he would have been a big time NBA.
Solidified.
Yep.
Yes, no doubt.
It was right before he got his contract too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Painful.
So
and that,
unfortunate.
when people talk about the guaranteed contracts and how unfair it is, right? And players take advantage of that. This would be the exact case to show how
Mhm.
it's not so unfair.
Right. To where if you
He
don't
was playing for his team because they were in a run. He was at an MVP level. Maybe didn't get the best advice. Don't know about that, right?
if he would have shut it down, he probably would have got that contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
It is. It is.
And for Shaq's retired jerseys, he
Yep.
has his jersey retired for the Lakers, the Heat,
Mhm.
and the Magic.
There you go.
Oh, really?
Three,
Okay.
all
One-
three.
One of 3 players in league history who have 3 jerseys retired.
Who are the other two?
The other 2.
Let me guess. Let's
Okay.
take a guess. The other two have 3 teams.
Wow.
I give you one if you want to guess the other. I give you
Okay.
the one that I
Yeah.
feel like is harder.
Okay.
Pete Maravich has 3.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that
Yeah.
ever. I didn't even know he played for 3 different teams. quite
The other one
honestly.
I feel like you guys could get.
Okay.
Uh,
It's not Vince Carter. He's
No.
2.
Junior Survey? No.
No.
He's 2.
Who played for 3?
Think of who's got all the records.
LeBron?
Wilt.
It's Wilt.
It's Wilt.
It's
Wilt.
Wilt.
Yeah,
Wilt
makes
has been
sense.
retired for 3 teams.
Philadelphia, Golden State, and LA, right?
I can look that up.
It's
as
definitely
well.
Golden State and
Yeah.
LA.
And LA, and
Yeah.
Philly, probably.
But I'm thinking, didn't Philly move out the Golden State? We'll check on that.
Yeah, we'll check on
All
that. We got about 20 seconds. until
sounds
we're
good.
back.
Who's going to retire LeBron first?
Oh, that's
Gotta
happening in
believe it.
Cleveland.
Absolutely.
That's happening
First.
in Cleveland.
Yeah.
They're going to beat LA to it?
Oh,
If LA wins another championship, maybe not.
all right. 5 seconds.
But I don't think that's happening. Welcome back into Game Night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marshall on with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. Our final segment here. Getting you ready for Kings Live pregame. Jason Ross will be in with Henry for that 4:30 tip. G-Man with the call. I think Gary saw every play on Broadway over the last 4 days. He is set. The man is feeling good and ready to go.
You know what? That's good,
Isn't
man.
it
You
the
know
best?
what? I'm happy for the G-Man to be able to get out there because he loves going to those
He
places.
loves it,
And,
as he should.
and he loves the restaurants on the East Coast too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know what, G-Man? Have all the fun, bro. Have all the fun.
Absolutely. Love to hear about it a little bit later on tonight as the G-Man's got the call. Kings and Nets. It's time now for our Gingery and Hammer Associates injury report. If you're ever in an injury, just call Gingery. With that, Anthony, take it away.
All right. So this game, the Kings thankfully have no one on the injury report, but the Nets have a lot.
Yes,
the
they
Nets
do.
have Ben Simmons out, Trendon Watford out, Cam Thomas out, Cameron Johnson out, and Bojan Bogdanovic is out. A lot
There
of
you
people
go.
out for the Brooklyn Nets.
They are missing a lot of people. You feel bad for Jordy Fernandez. And if we'll recall, we've been talking a lot about Cam Johnson, but it was Cam Thomas who had a huge game against the Kings here. He had 34 points. He
Mhm.
almost carried the Nets to a
I
victory.
mean, came in and went off.
Yeah.
One of those guys that came off the bench and just lit them up.
He did. He was fabulous in that game. No doubt about it. But so the Kings certainly, we talked about this being a game, the most winnable of the 6 on the trip. And with those injuries now, it even becomes more important for the Kings to get this one tonight.
Yeah. I mean, the Kings have to take care of business. Whenever, I don't care what team they play, Scott, whenever they come into an arena and the team is undermanned, it's TCB time. Take care of business because you're not going to get that type of chance to beat them again, being that desecrated with injury. So go out there and take care of business.
Yeah, you got to take care of your business. That is for sure. The Kings with a great opportunity to do that here this afternoon. Again, the Kings, they're in a good position right now, 23-22. But as you've said, they just got themselves into the position. They got to keep pushing forward.
They have to keep pushing forward. You just got yourself pretty much out of the frying pan.
Yep.
Okay. But you're out of the frying pan, but you're right in the skillet that don't have the eye on. So you're right there. If you lose a couple more games, you're right back in that frying pan.
No doubt. And you want to even up the season series against Brooklyn, too. I mean, as we go back, that Brooklyn loss at home is still one that stings.
Yeah. You know what? I don't think the series with Brooklyn is that important. More so the win, the overall win, whether y'all split or not. Just having that win in the W column is huge for Sacramento.
It is. It's absolutely huge. All right. We did find out that Shaq, we were talking about it, has had his jersey retired by Miami, by Orlando, and the Lakers, of course, just one of two NBA players to do so. We also figured out that anytime you're in that kind of company, the only other player who that could possibly be is...
You said Wilt Chamberlain.
Of course, it is Wilt. Anthony, who were the three teams that Wilt had his jersey retired from?
Wilt had his jerseys retired by the Lakers, the Sixers, and the Warriors.
There we go. We got it. Philly, Golden State, and LA. Yeah, figured as much.
And
there.
Pistol Pete Maravich.
That's right. He was the third.
That would be Utah, New Orleans.
Right? I don't know where else he played. I just don't go far enough back. Where else was he at, Anthony? Did we have that?
The Jazz, the Pelicans, and the Hawks.
Atlanta.
The Hawks. Atlanta.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense. All right. We've just got a couple minutes left. Other things you want to see tonight from Sacramento?
A W.
Of course.
Nothing else but a W. Scott, don't care if it's ugly. Don't care if it's pretty. However they have to get it, gritty, grind out a win.
Yeah. No, they definitely need to do that, of course. It'll be interesting to see in terms of minutes tonight if we see more of Dougie Buckets off the bench tonight, or how the rotation's done by Doug Christie.
Going that deep, I honestly think it's about more about necessity.
Yeah.
I think he went to Dougie Buckets early because he's like, let me see if he's in a groove. Because you never know when a player's in a groove. The way he came out and shot that basketball the other night, you would say, okay, we got to give him a look to see if he's in a groove. If he comes out and gives us two nights like that, you got to keep riding him until, the groove is over with, until the wave is over with. Yeah. But, Doug came in and didn't even give him a bucket.
Right.
And this is the thing too. To Doug's defense, the Kings have to find him, have to give him shots.
Sure. Yep. He's not going to create his own shot.
No, we know the type of guy he is. He's a come off the screen, catch and shoot player. If you don't run plays for him to get the ball, he's not going to catch and create his own.
No, he's not. The one player I do not want to see beat the Kings tonight, D'Angelo Russell, who's back in Brooklyn. We've seen him kill the Kings. He had that 28-point fourth quarter when he was at Brooklyn a few years ago when the Nets came back and won.
He came in here with Minnesota and gave us buckets.
That's
too.
True.
D'Angelo Russell loves playing against the Sacramento Kings, whether in Golden One or on the road.
All right. That's going to do it for Game Night. Henry, always great to work with you. Have a great call tonight.
Yes, sir.
Coming up next, Kings Live pregame. Jason Ross here with the high flyer for that 4:30 tip. G-Man with the call. We've got you covered all afternoon and evening long. Kings basketball. They're in Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Keep it tuned here. Sacktown Sports, 1140.
I joined the military for my kid and his mom. I miss my son a lot. One of the things with the military